Okay, so if I remember correctly, there are some typos in this book that we'll have to correct as we go along. Okay, I think we're going to start on page 5. And Siyata Deshmaya will have a great Purim. And we'll see the downfall of the enemies that we're living with. Okay, Sipur HaMegillah, the story of the Megillah. אתם יודעים שבפורים אנחנו קוראים את סיפור המגילה. רבי נחמן אומר שכל העניין של פורים הוא הסיפור. So as you know, Purim, we read the story of the Megillah. Reb Nachman says the whole thing about Purim is the story. אתה צריך להקשיב לסיפור, you have to listen to the story. רבי נחמן אומר שהשם ברא את האדם בגלל שהוא אוהב סיפורים. Rahman says that God created man because he loves stories.
The word lahakshiv, to listen, rather than lishmoa.
Lishmoa is to hear, lahakshiv is to listen closely. So God created man because he loves stories. Kol ha'olam hu sipur sh'Hashem siper. The whole world is one big story that God has told. Hashem mesaper lanu sipurim. God is telling us stories. Hashem bara et ha'olam, God created the world. Hashem bara anashim, God created people. Hashem mesaper sipurim arukim, God is telling us long stories. So, like when you think about your life, for example, and like, you know, where it started, what family you were born into, and then this happened, and then they sent you to school, and then this and that, and so on. You realize that your life is a story, you know, it's a story, and you got to sort of pay attention to that and see, like, oh, what's this story really all about? What is it about?
It's interesting. I actually had a teacher in high school when we were learning for Bagut and Tanakh. She said, don't look at it as though you're learning for your Bagut and Tanakh. Look at the Tanakh as though you're reading now the story of our past. And that's how I did it. And it really does it.
And
you look at it so differently when you read the Tanakh as if you're reading a storybook, or when you're reading it in like a way of like, okay, I'm studying. You know.
Right. So he says, Tfilah hi davar amok ma'od. Prayer is something very, very, very deep. אבל רבי נחמן אומר שהתפילה אינה... He just came, he's going? Page 5. So, תפילה היא דבר עמוק מאוד, the second paragraph on page 5. אבל רבי נחמן אומר שהתפילה אינה עמוק העמוקים של קרבה להשם. So Reb Nachman says that, but prayer is not the deepest depth of closeness to God. עומק העמוקים של קרבה להשם הוא כאשר אתה מספר להשם את הסיפור שלך. The deepest depth of closeness with God is when you tell God your story. So you know that in Breslov, the big practice is hitbodedut. What is hitbodedut? Hitbodedut literally means keeping you in shape, Michal. Hitbodedut, oh, wait for him. Page 5. Hitbodedut is basically going into, it means to basically to be alone, but you're going into being alone, having a private conversation with God. That's basically what Hitbodedut is. And what do you do in Hitbodedut? You speak to God. You speak to God like, you know, Hashem, you're my best friend. I know that you're always there to listen to me, and you tell Hashem whatever you're feeling, whatever you're going through, you know. And you also try to listen to see if Hashem is responding to you. If Hashem is not just hearing you, but if Hashem is also responding to you and giving you suggestions. So so Rav Nachman is saying that that's even closer in a certain way than davening, because it's like more personal. You're having, you know, a personal conversation with Hashem, like, you know, Hashem, this happened to me, and I went through this, and I went through that, and this is what's going on right now, and I, you know, like, this has been really good. I'm having some trouble with this. And it's like very personal. So it's something very, very deep, you know. And so what Reb Shlomo is getting at over here is that the thing about Purim is to realize that it's a story. And for you, and of course Hashem knows, but you need to speak to Hashem. You need to speak with Hashem. You need to feel that you're in a relationship.
This is one of the ways.
Yeah.
I think that also by telling your story, if you sit there and talk about it, when you let it out, like you can sit about it, but a lot of times actually saying it out loud and whatever, it also helps you reflect upon it in a different way. So by doing it, you're kind of like, it's a two-way.
She's a psychiatrist.
The Shia is known on its ways when the younger generation are learning so much from the younger people here.
Baruch Hashem. It's a very special young crowd in this community.
I mean, not just in this community, the other group too.
Yeah.
I mean, you think you reach a certain age, you know more than the young kids, but I don't.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not talking about.
Okay.
We're talking about my story.
Thank you for sharing.
Okay. So Eitz Hadat hu teoriot. Eitz Hadat is theories. Eitz HaChaim hu sipurim. That's a very beautiful line. The tree of life is theories, but Eitz HaChaim is the tree of. The tree of knowledge is theories, but the tree of life is stories. Kol ma she'anu mevinim magia mehamudah shelanu. Everything that we understand comes from our knowledge. Me'efa magi'im hasipurim, but where do stories come from? Mehadimyon, from imagination.
What does that mean?
Okay, so that means like this. So let's see, he's going to explain. Ha'emet hi shasipur magia me'ever lemudah shelanu. Stories come from beyond our knowledge. Aval hasipur zorem derech hamudah shelanu, but the story flows through our mind, which is much me'ever, but the story is really beyond, from beyond. Rabbi Nachman Omer, כשאתה חולם, אתה תמיד חולם סיפורים. When you're dreaming stories, לא תיאוריות, you're not dreaming theories. כשהדמיון שלך חופשי לגמרי, when your imagination is completely free, אתה חולם סיפורים, you dream stories. There's issues in the bathroom if you need. כשאנשים מספרים זה לזה סיפורים, when people tell each other stories, הם באמת יכולים להיות חברים, then they can really be friends. נכון?
Should connect the strings so you can pull it.
No, it's good for him to get out. Shalom Aleichem. Baruch Hashem, back. Yeah. Okay, so when you share your story with another person, then you can really be friends, right? Purim is all on the level of stories. אפילו כשאדם שיכור ומספר להשם בליבו כל מה שעשה לא נכון, on Purim, even if a person is drunk and is telling God in his heart everything that he did that wasn't right, הוא אומר את זה בדרך של סיפור, he's telling it as a story. פורים הוא החג הגדול של הסיפורים, it's the holiday of stories. אתה צריך להיות ממש טוב וגבוה ושיכור כדי לספר את הסיפור שלך. You have to be really good and high and drunk in order to tell your story to Hashem, to God. בחסידות צאנז, in the Sons of Hasidus, הרבי היה מכריז כל שנה בפורים, the Sons of Rabbi used to announce every Purim, אפילו אדם שכל שערי שמיים סגורים לפניו, Purim of heaven are closed before him, אפילו מי שעשה טעות ולא יכול אף פעם לעשות תשובה, even if somebody did such a terrible mistake that he cannot do תשובה, בפורים שערי השמיים פתוחים, on Purim the gates of heaven are open, והשם איתו כל הדרך, and God is with the person the entire journey. Okay, so in other words, don't just think about it, but try seeing your life as a story, and with many chapters, obviously, and try imagining. Okay, so where am I going? Where am I heading? What is my, which way? Where do I want to get to? And because now the thing is that if you look at the Megillah and you look at the first date that's mentioned in the Megillah, and from the time that Haman casts the lottery, okay, from the time Haman rises to power and casts the lottery until the actual miracle event of Purim, it's not from the time he casts the lottery, but from the time that the king has his party and gets rid of Vashti and Esther becomes queen and so on. It's 9 years. It's the story of Purim is, people are always surprised when they hear that, because the Megillah is read in 45 minutes, but what you're reading is something that's taking place over 9 years. There's a Megillah here at the back. If you look at so the first date that's mentioned is in Perek Aleph it says Bishnat Shalosh L'Malcho. In the 3rd year of his being king, the Achashverosh made this big party, and then Vashti doesn't show up, and so on, and Haman suggests that the king get another queen, and then they go through this whole thing where they go and collect all the women that spend the night with the king, and eventually Esther gets picked and becomes the queen. Okay,
here,
and if you
בשנת שבע
go,
למלכו.
where is it? What page are you on?
תיקח אסתר את המלך אחשוורוש של בית מלכותו, בחודש העשירי וחודש טבת,
It
בשנת
doesn't have page
שבע
numbers.
למלכו.
It's the second page of the
It's the second
Megillah.
page on the bottom.
The Pasuk Tet Zayin, second last line, ותלקח אסתר אל המלך אחשוורוש של בית מלכותו בחודש העשירי וחודש טבת בשנת שבע למלכו. So now it's the seventh year of his kingship, right? So it's 4 years after he got rid of Vashti, right? And then
down on the bottom, there's 12.
And then what?
Here on the bottom, there is not 12 למלך אחשוורוש.
Right. And then at the bottom, on the same, the Perek Gimel, okay, the bottom of the first page of Perek Gimel says, "B'chodesh harishon hu chodesh Nisan b'shnat 12 lamelech Achashverosh." It's the 12th year of his kingship, right? So the whole thing began in his third year, right? So it's 9 years later, okay? Hipilpu, that's when he casts the lots, right? And when was that? That was in the month of Nisan. And go on the next page, and the lots were cast on Nisan. And what was the date that came out for the for the decree? Was for the month of Adar, right? Almost an entire year later.
So it's 10 years then, because it's not the year after. It's approximately 10 years. If you 3 to 9,
It's
3 to 12 is 9, and now another year. Practically.
Well, it's not
almost closer to 10 years.
Close to 10 years. Okay. So the point is that like you take a look at if you were living at that time, and you see this happens, like the king has a party, the Jews go to the party, and then he gets rid of Vashti, and then eventually Esther becomes the queen in the 7th year, and then things are happening. Like, CNN is reporting every day, so on, right? And people are not connecting the dots, right? But it's all one story. That's the point. It's one story. You understand? What's happening in your life today didn't begin today. Okay? This is your story, and you're in your story. You're in the story of your community. You're in the story of your people. You're in the history of the Jewish people, and the story is going to have an end. Mashiach is going to come. Understand? Mashiach is going to come. But in the meantime, okay, so like this is the chapter that I'm in. Where am I going? Where am I heading? What do I want to do? And so on. And in the process of seeing that, in the process of the Hitbodedut, you develop a sense of, okay, I was born here, I was raised in this family, I had these experiences. It's like I say that, when I went to Cheder, my father and mother thought that I was going there to just learn certain things, and the school had a certain curriculum, but there were a lot of other things that happened there in school, right? Who wrote the curriculum for that? Who decided that, that I have to go through this experience and that experience and that experience? I was definitely too young to make choices, right? A lot of the things that I went through, I would not say that I chose to go through that. Okay? But when you begin to realize this is part of my story, and there's this larger story that's taking place. I make some decisions in the process, some I don't make, but it's part of the process. So then, how do I take everything that's happened in my life so far and use it in a good, healthy way? Okay? So that was just one little teaching, okay? So it says Reb Shlomo, page 7, Shikor Kadosh, the holy drunkard. He used to like to talk about the holy drunkard. And normally when people drink, well, they drink to forget. The world drinks wine to forget the good and to remember the bad.
Is that true? When you get drunk, you don't, you.
I don't know if it's true or not. But there's certainly truth to it. Okay, there's certainly truth to it in that you see, like I once met. I was once taking a summer workshop for teachers in the States, and the guy who organized it was from LA, and his wife came, and they brought along their 2 Mexican housekeepers. So they told us that in the town that they come from, when there's a wedding, everybody comes with lots of booze, and the wedding carries on for 3-4 days, and eventually, like people finish drinking their booze, and they're good and sugar, and they start fighting over what's left over, and eventually somebody gets shot, and that's when the wedding ends.
Wow.
This is where in LA or in
And Mexico, in this town.
Intense.
Okay. You know that it's over. The Hassa leaves after somebody gets. Okay, and so I've seen it. Like you see, like people are drunk and they go fighting over the last drop of whiskey or whatever it is, and they forget that this guy is your best friend. But right now he's got that last few ounces of whiskey, and you want it, and he's not giving it to me, and you get into a fight. So so there's truth in what he's saying here. Now he says, "Kishanu shotim b'Purim," but when we drink on Purim, it's the other way around. Anu shachachim b'tara. We forget the bad. Anachnu afilu shachachim kama Haman hura. We even forget how bad Haman was. Anachnu rak zochrim et hatov sheba'olam. We only remember the good in the world. Ubashamayim osim oto davar. In heaven, the same thing is happening. Hashem is looking just at the good. B'Yom Kippur, anu mevakshim slicha al kol hadvarim harayim she'asinu. Yom Kippur, we're asking for forgiveness for the bad things that we've done. Aval b'Purim, ani lo chayav levakesh slicha. Purim, I don't have to ask for forgiveness. Why? Because mipnei sheb'shamayim zochrim rak et hatov. Because in heaven, only the good is being remembered. Shikor lo kadosh ro'eh echad v'choshev shezeh me'ah. A non-holy drunkard, he sees one thing and he thinks he sees 100. He sees 100, he thinks it's 1,000,000. Purim, ani ro'eh milyon, v'ani omer, ani ro'eh rak echad. Purim, I see 1,000,000, and I say, wow, I just see one thing. Ani ro'eh et kol ha'olam, I see the whole world. Aval ani omer d'ribono shel olam, but I'm saying to God, ani ro'eh rak echad, I see just one. You know the story about this drunkard who's dying. He says to his son, son, don't ever drink. And the son says, Dad, not even a drink? So he says, okay, you can have a drink, but just make sure you don't get drunk. So he says, how am I going to know if I'm drunk? He says, you see those 2 guys across the street? When you see 4, you know that you're drunk.
Sounds like a conversation
So
my dad had with me.
So he says, Dad, there's only one guy across the street. There's only one guy across the street. Huh?
Yep.
But you know the famous parable that's often told. I first heard it at the Lubavitcher for bringing these guys that especially 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, they get thrown out of the bar. They're closing up. And it's a cold night, and they have nowhere to go, so they're walking by a church, and one of them says, "Oh, let's just break in here." So they break into the church, and then one of them says, "You know, I remember, they used to have on Sundays in the services, they always had wine. There's got to be wine here." So they start looking around, and they find this closet, and they pick the lock, and well, there's lots of good wine there, and they're having a party. Anyway, the night is coming to an end, and they realize they got to get out of there fast before they're caught. So they're about to leave, but one of them, Boris, is already so drunk they can't even wake him up. So they decide they're going to leave him there. But one of them says, "You know what? Give me a minute." And he runs back to the closets, and the priest's robes were there hanging, the fancy stuff. So they take the robes and they dress Boris up in the priest's robes. He's totally out of it. He doesn't know what's going on. They dress him up as a priest, and they leave him lying there in the pew, and he's sleeping. Anyway, finally, eventually, he wakes up like 11, 12 in the morning, and he looks around like, "What am I doing here?" And then he looks at himself, and he sees he's dressed like a priest. And now he's like, "Mamish, having an identity crisis. Am I Vlad the drunkard, or am I the priest?" And so he's thinking, "How am I going to find out?" So he remembers that Vlad didn't know how to read, and the priests didn't know how to read. So I'll pick up a book, and I'll see if I could read. That means I'm the priest. If I can't read, then I'm Vlad the drunkard. So he picks up a book, looks at it this way, looks at it this way, looks at it that way, and he comes to the conclusion that he know how to read. Okay. Now, that is a very, very deep story. Simply speaking, in other words, if you're going to leave it up to yourself, to figure out if you're going to leave it up to yourself to figure out if what's the truth about yourself, you can easily fool yourself. That's the reality. And yes, please. And then I saw the same parable. So the point is that you have to be in a conversation with, and hopefully you have a good friend who cares about you enough that they're willing to tell you the truth, even if you're going to get angry at them, right? Sometimes people think, to be a good friend means that you don't criticize, or that you don't everything's okay. Yeah, whatever you say is fine. That's not real good friendship. If you really care, if you really care about your friend, and you know that your friend is doing something that's really not good, you have to have the guts to tell them, even if they're going to be angry, even if they're going to not speak to you again. Maybe you're not right, but if you think that what you're telling them is honest and truthful, and it's important for them to hear it, you have to tell them. It's like, if I'm going to just have conversations by myself, right? I could easily come to the conclusion that Vlad came to. Okay. Now, in Hitbodedut, when you're consciously speaking with the Rebbeinu Shalom, okay, you're not likely going to fool yourself. If you're honest and sincere in your Hitbodedus, you manage, like, that you're talking to Hashem, right? So you will know when you're being honest and when you're not being honest. Okay. Now I saw the same parable brought in a sefer of teachings from the Pshiskar, and the Pshiskar, one of the early Hasidic masters, the Simcha Bun of Pshiskar, and he he speaks about people who sometimes, like, people pretend that they're holier than they really are, and what ends up is that instead of facing the truth, so initially, like, somebody pretends that he's a Rebbe, not Hasidim, right? But he knows that he's not really a Rebbe, right? If he's not going to be honest with himself, what he's going to end up believing is that he is a Rebbe, and that the other Rebbes also don't know anything. Just like Vlad ends up believing that take the top off. Just like Vlad ends up believing that what do you call it? That the priests also don't know. The other priests don't know how to read either. It's you got to be very, very careful when it comes to this matter of being honest with yourself. Okay? And that's why it's like the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avot. It says, "Aseh lecha rav, uknei lecha chaver." Make for yourself a rabbi, right? And buy a friend. Literally, knei means to acquire, but the Mefarshim say that liknot also means to buy, and it says that, so what they're saying is that a good friend is even more important than a rav. Right? You have to have a good friend. You have to have a friend that you can call up and say, "Listen, I got to share something with you. I want to talk to you. I want to this." You have to have a good friend. You have to have a good friend in life. Otherwise, you live in your head and you live in this fantasy world. Yeah. And the Torah says, Hashem says, "Lo tov ha'yot ha'adam lebado." It's not good that man is alone. Eseh lo ezer kenegdo. I'm going to make for him ezer, which means a helper, right? Kenegdo, against him, right? So, and Hashem creates Chava. So Rashi says, "What's no good that man is alone?" Now, so in the Gemara, it speaks about, like, psychologically it's not good, economically it's not good. Like, if you would have to do everything yourself, if there wouldn't be division of labor, how much would you accomplish in life? You'd have to spend half your life knitting your clothes, like, and making your clothes, and then hunting and this and that and so on, like, but there's division of labor. There's more than one person. Many more things get done. But Rashi says, Rashi says it's not good for anybody that man is alone. Because, Rashi says, because man might think that just like God is single and I'm single here too, so maybe God is king in heaven and I'm king over here. So Hashem created Chava so that Adam shouldn't think that he's God.
Very effective.
Okay. So that's the pshat in Rashi. Okay.
It works.
Yeah, and that's why it says lo tov hayot ha'adam levado. It's not good that man is alone for anybody. It's not that it's not good for man to be alone. It's not good for anybody, right? And look around, you see how many men think that they're God, even though they've been married more than once or whatever, right?
I know some women who think they're God.
I know ones
who know they're God.
That can of worms.
Okay.
I always thought that Azer can mango men. If the man is Zarsa,
She's Azer, and if not, well, it's the same shot. It's the same thing. You understand? If you're here doing what you need to be doing, then your soulmate is going to be helping you. But Kenegdo is also helpful because what do you call it? You need somebody to confront you. If you're not going to be confronted, you're not going to grow. You're not going to develop. 1 second, I see your hand. If you're not going to be confronted, you're not going to be developed. You're not going to develop. You're not going to become the person that you can become.
Not to be confronted all the time.
Didn't say all the time. There's it has to be realistic. Yeah.
More or less said what I wanted to say. I think that the importance of the other, of having an other, not being alone, is critical, and I think it goes beyond marriage. Also, we have a Jewish learning, the form of learning, Chavruta,
sure.
two people bouncing ideas off, challenging each other, and you have,
Yeah.
you have.
That's right.
There's expressions kinat sofrim in Hebrew.
Tarbeh chokhmah.
That if you have each person trying to reach the truth, challenging the other, they're going to get to greater truth than by themselves.
Absolutely.
I think it's also true. You only find that what you're worth in someone else, who you are in relation to another person to a certain extent. And I grew up with non-Jewish friends, and I was always presenting Judaism, and they were presenting their religion, and it was very helpful to me.
Good. So he says, so we didn't finish the page. We're on page 7. So he says that holy drunkenness means that you see one rather than seeing multiplicity, right? And ביום כיפור אנחנו לא נותנים מתנות זה לזה מפני ישנו פרודים זה מזה. Yom Kippur, we're not giving each other gifts because we're sort of separate from each other. Everybody's busy with themselves and are davening. It's not that we're separate, but we're not totally together. בפורים אנחנו לא יכולים להפסיק לתת מתנות מפני שאנחנו לאחד. Purim, we can't stop giving each other gifts because we're really בעזרת השם יום אחד יש שלום בעולם. בעזרת השם, there will be a day that there's going to be peace in the world, אבל בכל שנה זה מתחיל בפורים. Every year it begins on Purim.
When he says everybody sees one, does it mean only that we see each other as one?
Yeah. So let me just elaborate a little bit. So you remember the teaching that we learned from Reb Shlomo on Purim before I left? I spoke a little bit about it on Shalosh Shudas yesterday. That Purim, we don't want to make any more compromises with evil. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing in Purim is that we want a world with no evil whatsoever. And today what we read was that we spoke about it then too, but Eitz HaChaim and Eitz HaDaat, the tree of knowledge, the tree of life. We're so used to making compromises and accepting that, I'm 90% good, 10% bad, right? Or whatever it is. But that process of those compromises is something that keeps us apart. When I say keeps us apart, it doesn't mean that it keeps us completely apart, but we're not as close as we can be with each other. I'll give you an example. Let's say you see somebody doing something that's not 100% right, and if you were really close with that person, you would go and you'd speak to that person and you'd say, "Hey, Muscle, how could you be doing this? Like, you're ruining something important in your life." But often, what we end up doing is we say, "Okay, he's pretty good. He's not the greatest or whatever it is. He's pretty good." But in a sinister way, we sort of have this sickness, I would call it, that we sort of like to know something negative about another person, right? So that if it ever happens that you're going to do something that's against me, I know how to get back at you, right? I'll be able to remind you about something that you did that was bad, or I'll be able to put you down or whatever, okay? In our own personal selves, if we make compromises with a certain amount of evil, then every time that you're going to really, really want to do a lot better, that evil that you've accepted about yourself is sort of going to come up and say, "You don't really mean it. You don't really mean that you really want to be a lot better. After all," and this is the voice of Amalek, right? "After all, you know that you've done this, and you did it again, and you did it again." And now, the Aron HaKodesh, okay, try to understand this. The Gemara says that the wingspan of the two Kruvim was 20 amot.
The wingspan?
Wingspan.
20 amot.
And the room of the Kodesh HaKodeshim was also 20 amot. So it means that the two Kruvim, they took up the entire space in their wingspan. Okay? But the Aron HaKodesh was 2.5 amot. Okay? So add up 20 plus 2.5 is 22.5. But the room was only 20 amot wide. Okay? Now, forget about the drawings that you've seen where the wingspan is different and so on. We're talking about a particular opinion in the Gemara. So the Gemara says, I think it's Rabbi Tarfon, he says that the Aron HaKodesh is Einam min Hamidah. The Aron HaKodesh had measurement, but it didn't take up space. Remember, we spoke about it yesterday. Yeah? What does that mean? That means that there was a unification between the infinite one and the finite. Hashem made his infinite presence manifest in the finite world. Meaning to say that Hashem was present, and you could see that Hashem was present because the laws of space did not dictate in other words, the laws of space say 22.5 amot don't fit into 20 amot, right? So the laws of space were suspended, so to speak, and there was a unification between the infinite one and the finite world. Okay? Now, on a personal level, okay, what that means is that you can, the world says that you can only love a certain amount of people, right? 10 people, 15, okay? Torah says you have to live, you have to be able to love every one of your brothers and sisters. Okay? How is that possible? And it's possible, huh?
It's a good question.
Dr. Rebbe speaks about it. It's in this week's chapter of Tanya.
The more you love, the more you have the ability to love them.
Also, but still, everybody.
Yeah.
There's some characters that you haven't met yet. Okay?
I could just say
But
that I don't
how many
see
people-
what I should love about them yet. It doesn't mean that I can't potentially love them.
Yeah,
I just might not see the aspect
I'm
of
not,
them that I'm
I'm
gonna
not
love.
disagreeing with you, but basically, as soon as you say that you have to have a reason for being able to love somebody, is already limiting how many people you could love.
Mhm. And so one should have the perception, because that the other person is a Jew, and therefore he's my brother.
So Dr. Rebbe explains, okay?
I just don't think
Yes,
I'm at the level for
the
it,
Alter
but I
Rebbe-
think
the
it's
Al-
possible.
So listen, so the Alter Rebbe explains that it very much depends on how you see yourself. Do you see yourself primarily as a nefesh habahamit, an animal soul that's driven by the need for survival and self-gratification, right? Which is the way the animal soul operates. Nothing wrong with that, but it is, so long as it's done properly. And if you see yourself primarily as a nefesh habahamit, so that means that you are either going to contribute to me or you're going to be my competition. But we're not really one. Even if you're contributing to me, I am I, and you. If you contribute to me, so then I like you. You're going to vote for me. You're going to make me feel good. You're going to laugh at my jokes or whatever it is. I like you because you're contributing to me. Okay. And if you're not contributing to me, then you're my competition. You're taking away. You're stealing from my attention. You're stealing my drink. You're taking this. You're taking that. So, but if you see yourself primarily as a nefesh elokit, as a divine soul, right? That that your essence is your neshama. So then you can mamish love every one of your brothers and sisters, because then it's clear to you that you and you and you were all coming from the same one Father, from a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and we're all part of the one. Okay. It's like the example, somebody's slicing some bread and he isn't careful and he cuts his finger, right? How much sense would it make to you to take the knife and transfer it to the other hand and say, okay, now go take revenge. The right hand cut the left hand, now left hand, go take revenge against the right hand. You would say, are you crazy? We're one person, right? We're one person. What are you talking about revenge? It's totally absurd, right? So, but to see ourselves as one, right? You have to see yourself, first of all, is as your neshama to be able to perceive life and people in that way as well.
Well, I also
Okay.
think that you can love a person though without it having to do something towards yourself. Like what I'm saying, you might not see the reason I want to like that. I love this person yet. Doesn't mean that like it's something that they're going to give me, but it could be that I'll see this person do something
That you appreciate.
particular that I'll appreciate, and I'll be like, yeah, I love,
Right.
like, I love this person for that reason. I'm not
Right.
getting any gain out
Right.
of
But
it.
what about a person who's not doing something like that you appreciate?
I might not see it. That's why I don't
No,
turn
but
it
even when you see somebody that's doing something that you appreciate, in some sense, it's like saying, this person makes me feel good because this person is also doing something that I appreciate. Understand? So it sort of, it justifies my being. It's like, what do you call it? Like you walk into a shul and you're dressed like everybody else, people are more likely to be open and friendly to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You come in and you walk in with with your shtreimel into a Mizrahi shul, or somebody, or vice versa. People right away are not as open to you as right. So why not? Because again, they're looking at the chitzoniyut, right? If you're dressed the way I'm dressing, that means you agree with the way I think things should be. Okay? And if you're dressing differently, so then, like, I'm not so sure that we could be friends. Ta-ta-ta-ta. Right? Understand? But if you see yourself primarily as a neshama,
then you just love the other because they're another piece of God.
and they're another part of the same one, right? You don't see your two hands as being two separate things. Yes, one is, there's two hands, but it's part of the one body. Okay?
For most people, I would agree. But there are others, a few others, whose behavior is difficult for me to accept.
Now,
So with people in shul, I literally keep away from them.
okay.
If I'm nose to nose, I say good job, whatever. So it boils down what means love. Do I have to hug them?
No, but well, let's start with things that you can do. Okay, and we've learned this in the past. You can focus on something positive in them, which would then give them encouragement to do more good. Okay, you understand?
Everybody has something.
It's like if I understand correctly, this chiropractor was explaining to me, I was having trouble with the pain in my leg, and he was sticking needles in my right hand over here. So I said, what does sticking needles in my hand, my right hand, have to do with my left leg?
Acupuncture.
Yeah, acupuncture. So he said, but what has it's got to do? Like, why are you trying to fix my left leg through my right hand? So he explained that there are meridians. It's sort of like there's major wiring systems in the body. And sometimes, in order to alleviate the pain in one part of the body, you got to send it energy from another part of the body. Okay? I remember a number of years ago, there was a picture that was going around the internet of these twins that were born. One was healthy, and the other one was having heart problems and so on. And for some strange reason or other, like, he didn't relate, but there was this nurse that decided to take the healthy one and lay him with his twin brother in the same incubator, and the healthy one just put his arm onto his brother, and the baby that wasn't so healthy yet, his heart rate started to improve, everything started to improve, and he got better, right? So it was amazing. And we're connected, we're wired to each other. You understand? Your mood affects his mood affects your mood, etc. So you see somebody that's mamish not doing not I never mind, not just not I there might be like, you know, like what's the word, like, you know, people talk Lashon Hara all the time, slanderers and negative people and so on and so on. So to love them at that particular moment, one practical way is to focus on something positive in them, because by doing that, you are helping them go into a better space. Understand? Now, it doesn't mean that you're thrilled about them, but it means that you love them in the sense that you want them to be better. You care enough that you actually, instead of focusing on the negative, you're going to focus on the positive. Okay? So Purim is like the drunkenness in Purim is that we're all one. Okay, we're seeing one. Okay, we'll stop here and continue tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yes, there are other ways other than alcohol to get to that.
Yes, Reb Shlomo used to say you have to be drunk on Purim.
I can't drink alcohol.
I said, you hear what I just said? You have to be drunk on Purim. Huh?
I'm drunk on Adar.
On Adar?
Are these for sale?
They can be bought. I'm not selling at the moment. I gotta keep them. At the store in the Tachana Merkazit, Dabri Shir. Dabri Shir Shulam. Okay. Call tools. Think positive.
Okay.